All right, so here is a rough overview of the beginning of the process here. So basically, I have two different kinds of Fermonsters that Bobby has modified for me. You can see that there are these are called weldless ball lock fittings on the top of these. So I have two different kinds. I have the kind on the left that's more or less been converted into a keg. So it has a post with a floating dip tube that I can use to transfer the wort out of the fermenter. And then it has a gas port. Actually, it has an extra gas port that I used to use for a different purpose also on the top. But the gas port can be used to put, these can handle maybe up to around 5 psi. They'll bulge a little bit, but I've been doing it for years and they can handle it. Now, the other style of fermenter that I have here, you can see it basically just has a hole with a grommet in the top. And you can see there's a plain old airlock on the top of it right now. Now, I use the one on the right-hand side for ester-driven styles because I have found that this ball lock system on the left-hand side here, it does just have between that and, like what I used to, blow off into, there's just more back pressure compared to the good old airlock. And it's enough to suppress ester development to a small degree. It's noticeable. I've done it repeatedly, batch after batch after batch. So for Hefeweizen and a lot of Belgian beers, you'll see me using the one on the right-hand side. Now, you might be asking, how the heck do you even get the beer out of there? Why don't you just put a floating dip tube in it? Well, hindsight's 2020, but basically, I just use this is Bobby's pressure transfer kit that he sells. So you basically just sanitize and purge this racking cane that's connected to a ball lock fitting there, okay? And you just jam it in there. You pull the airlock out, jam this in there, and then you can pressurize it and move the beer, okay? And then you just hook that up to your keg or to another, basically you can fill one of these with Star San, purge it out, and then basically it's only filled with CO2 at that point, and then you could move this beer into that if it was empty and purged, and go from there. Or what you can do is, what I'm going to do today is this one on the left is just going to be forced carbonated. So I'll literally just sanitize and purge a keg, and I'll move it from that into that, and then just pressurize it and put it in my keezer, right? But the one on the right-hand side, I'm going to bottle condition because it's a Weizenbach. And for that, what I'll do is I'll just, I'll run this into a keg. And then at that point, I'll use his syringe kit. And this is what his syringe kit looks like, assuming I can find it. It's basically just one of these with some tubing. And then you hook it up to either one of these or something of that nature, and then basically you just inject it straight into the keg. You pop the pressure relief valve and you just inject it straight into the keg. Or if you're doing it in one of these, what you can do is you would attach it to one of these gas posts. And that's actually the thing that I was mentioning earlier, that it's a different, basically this is why there's 3 fittings on there. You would vent the one gas post, and then you'd connect to the other gas post and shoot your sugar in. Basically, and then you just mix it up with the beer that you've transferred in there from the fermenter, okay? And then you'd bottle it from there, so then it's really simple. I have my beer gun here. I've got my CO2 tank with 2 outlets on it, one to provide pressure to either the keg or the Fermonster, whatever I'm transferring, okay? And then I have another line that's going to go into the beer gun here and be used to purge my bottles, okay? So that's what the CO2 tank with the 2 outputs here is doing. And then I just hook this up from my beer gun to the keg or to the Fermonster, right? And I just bottle my beer, okay? So I've already got my bottles here, got this set up. And so basically I'm at the very start of the process here, and what I'm going to do is I have a keg here that I've dedicated only to Star San. By the way, these are just plant dollies that I have both those guys over there on and on these. These are, you can buy them from Amazon.com. I love them because I like being able to just wheel things around my house. And so what I'll do right now is, this is the dedicated Star San keg. This keg I just filled all the way up with Star San. So what I'll do now is I'll just transfer a little bit of this into here. I'll pop the pressure relief valve on this, and just transfer a little bit into here until the liquid actually comes out the pressure relief valve, which is the highest point on the keg. Then I'll close that, and then basically I'll just do I'll do it in reverse. So I'll take this and purge it into this until this is almost full, and then when this is getting near full and runs out of room, I've got this other junk keg here that's basically just got a little bit of star sand in it, and I'll purge the rest of the star sand from this into this, and then this will be empty, and I can transfer the Weizenbach over there on the right hand side into this, and then I grab the syringe, shoot the sugar in the opposite side after I pop the pressure relief valve for a second, and that's it. I just bottle my beer, and then basically I'll bottle off whatever I want into my bottles here, okay, and the remainder will just sit in the keg in what they call keg condition. I would say I only force carbonate about a third of my beers. Number one, because it costs, it kind of wastes a lot of CO2. The other problem with using commercial CO2 to carbonate your beer is that it contains ppms of oxygen. It contains small amounts of oxygen. This is free CO2, and it's CO2 that's completely pure. And if there's any oxygen ingress anywhere during this entire process, it would actually eliminate it, because the yeast is being reactivated, obviously. So I like keg conditioning. Don't use it for lagers, obviously, or anything you want to be clear. Now, I don't have to worry about that as much with my setup here because I'm mostly using these Oxbar kegs, which I absolutely freaking love. I don't know why everybody isn't using these. I do own 2 of the standard issue Cornelius kegs in my kegerator here, and these are useful for dispensing not estery, yeasty styles. I've got my house beer on the right, which is my Hefeweizen. This is just some English beer that I don't really care about clarity on, so I just threw it in these. These are great too. They're definitely a little bit smaller and a little bit more compact than these, but these are lighter, they're cheaper, and they come with floating dip tubes, and I don't see why anybody should be using anything else. So I might take another video a little bit later in the process, but I started the mash on my next beer, and I figured I would go ahead, take this video. I'll start taking another video once I'm bottling and show what that part of the process looks like. But right now I've just got a couple of kegs I need to purge, because again, I want to take the one on the left, I want to put it in a keg, get it forced carbonating, and then the one on the right, I want to get it in another keg and get it primed so that I can start bottling it. All right.